All right. So, did President Trump's blockbuster speech at the New York Economic Club today address the affordability crisis? Joining us now, Charlie Hurt, Washington Times opinion editor and Fox News contributor. John Carney, Breitbart economics editor and author of the Breitbart Business Digest. David Malpass, former president of the World Bank Group. John Carney, you're my affordability expert. I mean, I think he hammered pretty hard today, but I'll ask you, did he get it done?
He did get it done. He both addressed housing affordability, which is a big problem in the United States. It's one of the things that all the surveys show are really hurting people. And he said he's going to open up land that we can build on, and he's going to do permitting reform to make energy affordable. That's absolutely necessary. Those are two things that when you ask people what are the things that bother them the most about the Biden-Harris affordability crisis, housing and energy are two.
So, hey, he mentioned opening up federal lands for housing purposes.
Right, there's a lot of
bad
land.
enough they won't do it for any oil and gas. I understand that. But he threw in housing, which I think is a new wrinkle.
It is a new wrinkle. The other thing that he mentioned as well is there's a lot of regulation, environmental regulation in particular, that stands in the way of building houses right now today. If you talk to builders, they say trying to get the permits, the regulatory permits to build houses gets in the way. That can be addressed at a federal level, because a lot of it is federal regulation.
David, I'm coming to you in a second. Hang on one second. I just want to inject some politics into the discussion. Charlie Hurt, this is a couple days after Labor Day and a couple days before the debate. Did Mr. Trump turn the tables, restart, reignite, whatever you want to call it? What were the politics of this speech today?
Yeah, I think he did. And I think that he did it by talking about these issues that matter to people and matter a lot to people in a very personal way. And I think the timing is perfect. I think it, of course, happens as this honeymoon in the media that Kamala Harris has enjoyed for the past 6 months is coming to a natural end. You can't keep that sort of thing going forever, though they tried their hardest to keep it going. And look, the campaign began this week. It began on Tuesday. That was we had Labor Day, and now they're off to the races. And they're basically where Biden were six weeks ago. So I feel very good about where things are, and Trump is talking about the issues. We're going to have a debate next week. How the idea that she's going to suddenly come out and talk about issues in a way that's compelling and sell something that people want, I have a hard time believing that, because if she has that, why hasn't she already been doing it? She's not doing it because she doesn't have it.
David Malpass, Charlie Gasparino, who's reported at the top of the show for us, made a very interesting point. He said it's like Mr. Trump knows Kamala Harris's platform better than she knows her platform. And, of course, he laid out his platform in some considerable detail. Now, I would think both of those, it's like the pro and the con, or the con and the pro, would be very valuable in this debate next week.
That's right. It seemed to be good debate prep. And for Kamala, he was specific on what the problems are, that she's caused inflation because of the spending, that the regulation and the energy hammering is really hurting on the inflation and affordability crisis. So he really hit the high points. I think he talked specifically about the American dream, about having the middle class be the largest ever, and about how to do that with regulation, with small business, with manufacturing, each of those, and there was detail. A woman came up to me after, and I said, well, what'd you think? She said, well, I'm undecided, but this persuaded me toward Trump because she hasn't liked the rallies, but this gave a full feeling that, boy, he's got a lot of details.
See, that's the thing. It might have been too long, okay, maybe, but that's a Trump thing.
I asked her that. I said, wasn't it long? She said, that's okay with me. But
she loved every minute of it. She
well,
was
she didn't
Kudlow.
say she loved it. She
Oh,
said, I'm
sorry.
still undecided.
I never did have my lunch. I never ate a thing. I had to come back here. But the point I was going to get to you is he showed a mastery of detail, which I think after all these Biden years and Harris years, vague and vacuous. People want the commander-in-chief to know what the hell's going on in the office. You know what I mean? And, of course, as you know him from meetings and whatnot, he always knows details. And I think he showed that today. And that's not a small thing.
That came through, and this was a giant audience that listened spellbound.
Yeah, terrific. John Carney, the other thing is you're my affordability expert. You're also my smart tariff expert, at least du jour or de nuit for tonight. Smart tariffs. Now, he's spent a lot of time on that, and he echoed something that you have said many times. Tariffs are not necessarily inflationary. The Chinese tariffs were never inflationary. And he created a package, okay? As I read him, all right, and I read the speech, and I'll probably have to read it again, basically saying taxes, regulations, spending restraint, lower energy prices, along with smart tariffs, cannot possibly be inflationary. Now, what did you make of all that?
It's not only not inflationary. Remember, when combining tax cuts with tariffs actually means that businesses are paying less to the government. Even the importers ended up seeing their stock value, which is a reflection of their earnings, go up. When Donald Trump cut taxes, people said, oh, no, that would be inflationary. Even the tax cut they accused would be inflationary.
Yes. Well, those are these goofballs, Keynesians, demand-siders on Wall Street. Right. Goldman Sachs is saying that the corporate tax cut is inflationary. I mean, honestly, really, and they get paid the big bucks for that?
What happened when they cut taxes? The stock market went up immediately afterwards, about 10%, about 1% for every point you cut off the corporate tax. You get a point up in earnings per share, which just raises the stock prices instantly. It's not inflationary. The tariffs weren't inflationary last time. I track them every single month, the prices of everything. I look through every CPI report. Nothing went up. One thing went up. Bicycles. And I think that's telling because we do import a lot of bicycles from China. They're a giant bicycle manufacturer.
Well, that's my Lincoln Navigator SUV. How's that doing?
Nothing else that was subject to the China tariffs went up. The steel tariffs. Remember the steel and aluminum tariffs? They cried. They said that's going to raise the price of beer. Beer prices did not go up because the aluminum tariffs went up. Wilbur Ross got that exactly right. And these tariffs are not going to cause inflation at all.
Charlie Hurt. Some point during this luncheon, I come back to this luncheon, and there's another story cooking, and I got to get your quick take on the story. Hunter Biden, out of the blue, he's in this tax trial, only there's not going to be a trial because he shows up at the non-trial trial and says, I'm guilty. I'm guilty. Could you just, in 20 words or less, explain this? What's going on? I know there's endless speculation and analysis about it, and but what do you think?
He has no one to blame but himself for this, obviously, because he committed the crime, according to himself and his own lawyer. But also because the Biden administration and Hunter Biden used all of his efforts to try to protect himself from prosecution. And his father tried to protect his son from prosecution, that here we are now. He's got nowhere else to turn but to plead guilty to this.
So he pleads guilty, so there's going to be some sentencing of some kind. But his father's going to give him a pardon anyway, no matter what happens. He's there till January 20th. He will pardon him. You know he will.
I would be shocked if he does not pardon him.
Right. Shocked. Utterly shocked.
It's easy to plead guilty when you already have a get-out-of-jail-free card in your hand, and Hunter Biden has the get-out-of-jail-free
What they did was they dodged the trial, which would have brought out a lot of very ugly, incriminating things, including all these income from China and Russia and Romania and all this other stuff that was so damn corrupt. Now that stuff will never see the light of day, and he will be pardoned.
So I think that he could have pardoned him even before he pleaded guilty. But the problem was, I think that they were hoping that maybe he might be able to beat it, and then he wouldn't have to pardon him.
Beat it.
And he didn't.
He didn't beat it. David
Economic thought.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was going to come back to you and ask you about the growth component. I want us to get back to 3% plus growth. And what I heard today was lower taxes, lower regulations, lower spending, pleasantly, energy deregulation. To me, we could get back to 3% growth under this kind of program, but you're a veteran on this. What you think?
Yeah, we sure can. And, economists use this concept of potential GDP, that there's some kind of glass ceiling. There's not. As you create the small business and manufacturing sector with energy output, you can get to that. And he said one other really important thing. Dollar as a reserve currency. Sound money is critical to growth. He said it.
Somebody once called that King Dollar. I got to make room for Newt Gingrich in the next segment. You guys are fabulous. Charlie Hurt, Carney, David Malpass, Hunter Biden, not.